As an experienced filmmaker, YouTuber, or even someone who is just starting into video production, the number one wish would be to make their movies and videos look cinematic like those Hollywood movies and high-budget films. There is a reason why the videos you take on your DSLR or smartphone don't look like Hollywood movies, even though you try to color grade them as close as possible. All those movies we were used to seeing and grew up, they were shot on film stock, not digital cameras. Even modern high-budget movies which are shot on digital cameras are trying to emulate that film stock look, giving that cinematic feel. And getting that film stock look is not easy at all, even for a professional colorist. I got introduced to the Dehancer Pro, a film emulation plugin for various NLE editors like Final Cut Pro, DaVinci Resolve, Adobe Premiere Pro, etc. In very simple words, Dehancer Pro is like applying an Instagram filter on your videos, except that these filters were developed to precisely emulate the famous film stock used in Hollywood movies for the cinematic effect. I have zero experience in color grading, and I graded the footage you saw earlier within 10 minutes, which normally would take hours for a professional colorist. In this video, I'm going to show you how I graded my footage step by step and also give my opinion about this plugin. The plugin can be very daunting to use at first, so I'm hoping this will make your process easier if you decide to give the Dehancer Pro a shot. Okay, I'm going to show my process of grading using Dehancer Pro in Final Cut Pro, but you can follow the same process in DaVinci Resolve or Premiere Pro as well. First, before you apply any effects, bring them to your timeline, cut and edit your footage just like you normally do. Here I have a bunch of footages that I shot and I've already cut and edited to my likings. I've also made some very minor local adjustments to some of the footage like exposure to make all the footage look uniform. I shot all these videos on Sony ZV-E1 full frame camera. I also shot them in S-Log3 in 10-bit color format to give me the best possible quality to color grade my footage. Now I need to start grading my footage. There are a few ways of doing this. I can grade just one footage, then copy paste the attributes to all the other footages, or I can do all my grading on an adjustment layer which will affect all my footage under it. This is how I do it usually, so you can tweak it how it suits you. I've dropped an adjustment layer on top of all my footages. Now I go to the effects panel, look for film emulation section, and here I see my Dehancer Pro plugin. I've already installed it, but installation is pretty simple. I drag and drop the effect onto my adjustment layer. Immediately I see a lot of drastic changes on my footage, and not very pleasing to be honest. That's okay, Dehancer has already applied a bunch of edits to your footage by default. We will start clean and apply the grading how we like. Before that, you should know something about this plugin and how it operates. This is a film emulation plugin, meaning it's trying to recreate that look if your movie was shot with a particular film stock. For those who don't know what film stock is, you see, earlier movies were shot on a rolling film stock, like a reel. And there are various film stocks from companies like Kodak, Fuji, etc., each which gives its own look and feel when shot with. Dehancer is trying to emulate the look of each film stock as accurately as possible to give that cinematic look. A lot of the settings you will see on the plugin are also emulating the effects on a film stock. That's why it could be a little difficult to grasp at first, but once you get a hang of it, your videos will look better than ever. There are multiple sections in the plugin, each with a default grade applied. To start with a clean look without any edits, go ahead and disable every effect in every section. This will bring back the raw footage you shot. But remember, I shot my footage in S-Log3 format. This, as you can see, gives a very low contrast, unsaturated look. We need to convert to Rec 709 to bring some contrast and color. You can convert first using your custom LUTs or Sony LUTs, but Dehancer tool has a built-in conversion section at the top. I use this conversion from Dehancer and it's pretty seamless. So let me first convert it based on my settings. Choose camera, Sony ZV-E1, and then S-Log3 Cine. I then make some basic adjustments. For example, this footage is pretty bright, so I'm gonna bring down the exposure a bit. There, nice. I'm also gonna warm the image a bit since it was shot on golden hour to give that feel, just a little bit. Other basic settings looks good. The film section. This is the crux of the grading. First enable it, and now you can pick a film stock you like from the profile list. Each profile here emulates a specific film stock for that cinematic look. I'll tell you a few of my favorites. The Kodak Portra 400 gives a dreamy but contrasty look. The Fuji Color C200 for a warm tone. Fuji Natura 1600 similar to Portra 400 a little. Kodak Vision 3 50D for a nice low contrast look. In fact, the Kodak Vision series film was used on a lot of famous Hollywood movies like Oppenheimer. I'm gonna go with the Fuji Color 100 for this project. I like that dreamy, low contrast look. You can already see the difference it made to the video before and after. It looks a lot better. You can explore what mood and film profile works best for your footage. A film stock behaves differently with the exposure you give it. Similarly, there is a push-pull slider for film profile which will affect how film stock behaves with more or less light. I'm gonna tweak this a little bit. There. Next, another important setting in my opinion, the film compression section. Modern cameras have high dynamic range for deep blacks and high contrast. Films and movies don't have high contrast look, but using this film compression, you can bring back that cinematic look. Let me show you what I mean by enabling this. You see, highlights in the sky are brought down and now it's becoming to look more cinematic. You can play with the white point, tonal range, etc. The expand section works to bring some contrast into the footage if you like. But in this case, since I'm going for a low contrast look, I'm gonna skip this part. Okay, next is print. When a film gets printed finally, the stock where you print to also makes some changes to your footage. This is to emulate that printing of the film stock. I like that Kodak Endura glossy paper print, and I'm gonna enable analog range limiter which will do a little bit more compression. I'm also giving a slight bit of tonal contrast here. Next, color head. This is again a film based concept, but this can be used to grade using CMY color shaft. My footage is slightly on the greener side, and to bring some warmth to it, I'm gonna enable gang which will pull all the sliders at once, and then I'm gonna bring some warmth. Already looks great, isn't it? You can see the difference before and after here. It's almost done, but some final touches. I'm gonna give some very little film grain. Default is very high. I'll choose custom, reduce the intensity, and give some grain mainly in the shadows alone. Halation is that yellow-orange light bleed that happens in the highlights. I'll show you in this footage. This works out nicely since it's a golden hour image, giving that extra punch of orange and red. I'll add some bloom as well, which will give that soft look in the highlight areas. You can customize it again to your liking by choosing different profiles. I'm gonna skip adding film damage, film breadth, and gate weave for my footage. These simulate those old film looks. I'm not really going for that old school look, so I'm gonna skip these. Finally, I'm gonna add a very little vignette to bring the focus more into the subject. There you have it. This is my final grade using only Dehancer plugin. To make it a little bit more cinematic, I'm gonna add some music, and then as a final touch, I'm also gonna add some letterbox cropping on top and bottom. How does it look? All these took less than 10 minutes for me to get the final look. Given the quality of the output and the time I spent, I think Dehancer is one amazing tool which will take away a lot of work with a few simple clicks. But there are some issues with this plugin as well which you should know before jumping in. This is a paid plugin and it's not cheap. This costs $450. This is not at all cheap. There are some variants of Dehancer with a little less feature set, like the Dehancer Lite, which costs $200. The Dehancer Pro version contains a lot of features which you may not need a lot, like the film breadth, gate weave in my case. In that case, the Lite version is a better option. Either way, you can give it a try using the trial version. Test out for yourself before your purchase. If you decide to purchase, I do have a channel discount code for you in the description below, so be sure to check it out. My second issue with Dehancer is it's a pretty graphic intensive plugin. So once you apply all the effects, your timeline playback is gonna struggle a lot. This is the case with any editor. So to make things easier, you can disable the adjustments, do all your edits, and then just enable it back before exporting. Full disclaimer, I was given access to the Dehancer Pro for me to test it out, but the thoughts and opinions in this video are fully mine. Okay, hope this was a useful video. Like and subscribe to the channel if you did. I'll see you in the next one. This is Anjana. Bye-bye.